And good evening, everyone. This is Lauren, somehow underneath these slides. I'm just taking a moment to post this slide about voluntary donations. I know that Roy said a few words last week, and we've really appreciate the contributions that came in afterwards, and would like to hit everybody up for a little bit towards Nadeau Sensei's expenses and to support his teaching efforts in this online virtual dojo. So I'll put this information in the text as well, but anything you can contribute is most appreciated. Thank you very much. And here we are. Just checking to see if Sensei is ready. Please stand. Good evening, Sensei.
Good evening. Hey. Okay. Yes. Brett, can you adjust that a bit? Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Let's go back to last week for a moment. Anybody playing with space as its own thing, space experiencing itself as space? We're talking about the big, heading more towards the original space, the finer of space, original, more original, as opposed to a 2x2 space, a 4x4 space. Yes, that's space. But I wanted to see if you could move into something more original, bigger. Okay, any carryover from space for anybody? Any exciting things going on for you with that?
Hi, Sensei, it's Mark here from New Zealand.
Mark.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying the space. I think it's been just phenomenal, really. I've been finding by just taking that time to experience space, it starts to set up, it starts to give enough room for everything else to start to happen properly, so to speak. For example, self seems to be able to become more present, and it just seems to become, it seems to be like a natural presence. And it just, yeah, I'm sort of struggling for words a little bit, but the kind of the cleanliness and the clearness of space, in a way, I start to become clean and clear for whatever's going to happen next as well. So I'm just really enjoying it, and there seems to be this really nice lineup between the kind of the energies that first appear there and the energies of my, I'm not sure if this is the right words, but the energies of myself. There seems to be some sort of nice energy match.
Yeah. Okay, you want to time it. Okay. The reason I didn't bring up self when we're doing space is just to really give space as its own thing, the full stage, and to try to move very fast from here to the finer of space, the more original of space, the larger of space. Okay, again, I like the sense of more original of space. and just to let it totally have the screen or the stage. If I brought in self, I think it'd be self and stage and then character and it might get a little confusing. We'll come around to that, to self. But just to get the space, let it be first right here. Let it show its clearness, cleanliness, could I say? Yeah. And then to be very slow on now in that space, the activity is going to start. The activity of the early part of creation is going to start. But I wanted to slow that one down too, because if people caught that too fast, they get caught up in the activity of creation, manifest creation, the linear creation that we're in. And they'd be better off hanging out longer with just the space. And yes, eventually, or very soon, the activity is going to want to start to show that it's there. But let's not be in a rush for that. Let's get a fuller space, so that as that manifest creation starts to do its thing, you had a better level. I don't know. It's like having a bigger, could I say it this way? I'll try it. A bigger frame, so that the picture of creation that's going to manifest creation, that's going to unfold, it's being done on in a bigger frame, so the picture has a chance to be even clearer. Did I sort of say that? Oh, okay. Yeah. So
Yes, definitely. And it's I guess for me is before that, I didn't. I guess I wasn't. I don't like using the word aware, but I wasn't taking the time there, and just taking that extra time, just with the blankness. As I say, it just seems to set everything else up more properly. Bad word, but more. Yeah, it just seems to. It's like a blank canvas. All the muck is getting removed. So it's untainted.
Yeah. And now you have a better sense of why I use the words like canvas. I think I've used that on a Friday night, or the clean sheet of paper. You're getting a sense of why I might have thrown that out as a presentation, because it's kind of similar to that, the space itself. Yeah. Clean sheet of paper, whatever. So it's not a bad temporary metaphor. Okay. All right. We'll come around to this again and hopefully go over the unfolding, whatever the right words are, the manifest creation, creating. And T just started that off, I thought, very well. Was that 2 Fridays ago, with the quality, A major for him, quality, and then a sense that soon there's going to be a character here. Yeah, it's going to unfold. And what I was trying to do was have you, so you don't get too cluttered there. And I know things in creation can go very fast, but to sort of get a better sense of the map of things by page 1, here's your first sense of this unfolding. Easy, and you hang out and you experience that experience. And then page 2, and then it'll be the next unfolding of it. So I'd like to come back around and hopefully people will be able to do that a bit better, clearer. Is that sort of okay? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on space? Somebody have a good time with it? If not, I thought we'd ramble around tonight in no particular order of anything at the moment. We've got a few people that have experiences, comments, whatever about crossing over, passing on. And I thought we'd bring those people in. So I think, I don't know, where should I start? Okay, in the human condition, there's a lot of fear of dying, right? Because some people don't know anything, and they think if they're dead, that's it. There ain't nothing. There'll be nothing, 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 nothing. Some people may be caught up in this hell word, or, oh, I'm not going to go to a good place. I'm going to go to a bad place, and I'll be stuck there forever through eternity. So a lot of this nonsense, misunderstandings, could I call them, can scare the human, the poor human. You folks ought to be a bit better with this, because hopefully you all have a sense of self to some degree, self, easy self. And you kind of already know that there's more to you than just your body awareness, consciousness, your brains kind of thing. And you already should have, I hope, some sense that there's something. Even though the self may not have clarified itself, has shown itself in its better, for lack of words, levels of itself, still, I'm sure most of you have some sense of something other than this gross body that's going to poop out and die, and there you are, you still exist. Okay, so I think one thing is to make sure we don't have any people who have that great fear of death, because that's the end of everything. That's the end of Bobby. But Bobby's come and go, if you would. Okay, I still exist. Okay, historically, I still exist. Where the hell are we going? I'm gonna just bouncing around here. I would like to make sure, which I don't even know what to call them, tricks of the trade, tricks of the trade, crossing over. And if we'll probably won't get to it tonight, I'm thinking, can you see this? I can't see it. There we go. Proof of Heaven, a neurosurgeon's journey into the afterlife. Show his name. Get your thumb off his name. Ibn Alexander, MD. Very sharp guy in the world. Very well educated, neurosurgeon plus. He was a not Stanford, Harvard. He was a Harvard teacher of this stuff. Plus. So a very, 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 very sharp guy. I think I haven't read the whole book. That's what I'm going to do this week, and see if his pattern of his experiences, if we can utilize that to map this process, this after you pass over process out to you, so you get a better sense of it. But tonight I thought we'd bounce around a bit. Where should we go now? Anything quickly off the top? Anybody just blah, 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 off the top on crossing over? Nobody.
Sensei, it's Justin. I would only wonder how precisely our settling down and opening up process matches the layout of what we might expect to find experience once we leave the body.
Good. And that's where we'll go. For example, in Alexander's book, his first chapter about the crossing over, the previous chapters on his life, his education, his family, blah, blah, blah. But his first chapter on the actual crossing over, I love the title, Underworld. Isn't that great? We've done some underworld work. So, hey. Yes. Settling, opening, easy. Don't panic. Easy. It looks horrible. Easy and subtle. You move through into finer. It's not as horrible. You're moving through finer. Okay. So a heavier approach can be thick, potentially ugly. Okay. So I mentioned one of mine when I first, the early stages of going down and just sitting and going down was the snakes biting me. So what the hell? I didn't panic because I was sitting to meditate. So got to live with it. I continued. Boom. More snakes. It was a snake pit. Like, oh, good grief. And I could actually feel them hit me. Wow. Again, I'm still in the meditation space. Let me hang out here. Continued hanging out, settling, opening. And then they began to smile at me. They all had a, hey. I thought, aha, the game is afoot here. Okay. And I continued, and it turned out not to be snakes, but spiraling energies. I continued, and eventually there was a real deep source, a beautiful lady moving her arms, and the energy spirals were like, I don't know, her pets or something. She'd move and the energies would spiral up. So those snakes that were biting me, and I don't care for snakes, horrible situation. Easy. And you start to get closer to the truth of things and the truer experience of things. Yeah. And he goes through that here. So again, I'd like to hold this for next week, but he goes through with his underworld, a little thick, heavy. You got to remember, I'll bring it up. This guy had no practice, experience. He thought the brain was everything. He had no spiritual interest, no religious interest. Okay. It was his intelligence and how he coped in the world and whatever. So in a certain way, coming from his human to this experience, he didn't have anything from his human life to help facilitate. But it's interesting how he developed. Again, we'll dialogue him later. But yeah, a lot of our stuff contains in it tricks of the trade to properly move on. Okay. Okay. So let's see. Let's start with Diane. Diane, Florida.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. You want to jump in and start it? Your grandmother's story?
Well, I was training. I was on the mat in the Aikido mat in Mountain View, and I got a phone call that my grandmother had passed. And prior to that, though, when I knew she was dying, I asked you, Bob, to do a pass on what was going on. I was trying to figure out when. I was in Mountain View and she was in Albany, New York. I was trying to understand when I should go back and see her, how much time I had. And the first thing you said was, you started to kind of do a pass, to tune into her. And the first thing you said was, I'm picking up two souls or two beings or two people. And I said, oh yeah, that's my grandfather. He had passed about 15 years earlier. And he was hanging out there with her. And
at this time, she's crossing or has crossed.
Not yet. No, not even before. And
Okay.
I actually went to see her before she died, and she, in her odd way, she kept kind of fading out. And my mom and my aunt would kind of bring her back, but I would stay with her when she kind of went out. And then she started talking to me, telling me she was talking to her dead husband. She was doing that before she left.
Let me jump
And
in.
then when she did pass,
people up to date here. So the husband, knowing she's going to die, starts to hover in because of his caring interest. It looks like he's going to take on the job of her guide. So he comes in early and starts to be there. So that's the stage where she's still in the hospital bed talking to her husband. I'm talking to my husband here.
She thought she was going a little crazy, right? But you had picked that up right away. And so then when I was back in California and I got the phone call from my mom, who was all tearful and everything, that she had passed. And I hung up and I went back on the mat and I was moved to just sit down on the side of the mat. And I went into a meditative space and opened up to her journey. And the experience was as if my grandfather was with her, and I would sense them at a certain level, at a certain place. And she was like, like this doctor guy, I mean, she had no training, no experience of anything, but she was a really good person anyway. And so she would be at this place and her I would sense her, it was as if her face would light up and she was like, oh, this is really cool. And then they would kind of disappear again. It's like he would not let her stay there. And they would go to a finer level again.
Yeah.
And each time,
right there. That's good. That these are levels or dimensional levels or astral plane levels, but different levels. Go.
Yeah, and so I just kept going along with it, and it kept repeating itself. They would get to another level. She would like be really wowed by it, and he would kind of bring her further. I'm not sure how far they actually went, but it was really extraordinary. And what was so interesting to me is I'm kind of the doubting Thomas here all the time, and I might have thought I was just making this up, but there was another woman in our meditation group who had pretty developed psychic abilities, and she saw me sitting on the mat. She sat down behind me, and when I finally came out of it, she said she had tracked me and had
tracking her.
Right, and that she validated, she experienced everything that I experienced, and she was seeing the same thing, and so it made me feel really more secure that in the reality of it.
Yeah, and I hope you've learned your lesson since. Stop doubting.
Well, no, little Diane, little Diane still definitely says, really?
Remember, people, when you get into finer dimensions and stuff, and if you still have the Bobby mind or the Robert mind, he can't cope with that. He's going to doubt it. He's going to question it. He's going to make up stories about it. You got to learn how to do this. Okay. And if you hang out and sense experience, now you get the experience of it. That starts to help. Just the awareness part, you might doubt that. It's too mentally trippy or something. But to experience these dimensions, just be aware of them and the experience of them, that really helps. That really helps because it's, he might even use that word in his book, tactile or something, tactile. Is that a proper word? Yes.
Tangible.
Yeah. In a certain way, very tangible. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. So when you cross over, following Diana's story here, you'll hit a certain level, but when we do levels, when you do a 2x2, and you who exists as a 2x2er, that you can trade that in and move into a 3x3, and that mixes up a 3x3er. That's basically what was happening to her grandmother, that the husband was saying, no, I know that's nice for you, honey, but you can do better than that. Come on. And then they disappear for a moment. boom, be in a better place. So the 2x to 3x to 4x is sort of a rough example of moving through dimensions to finer levels. I think we touched that fairly good, I think. You happy with that, Diana?
Mm.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah. Got me eating.
Anybody, anything on that piece? Because that was a nice piece. So part of the tricks we'll try to get across this week, next weekend, will be so you can move on a little bit better, faster, fuller. Again, you're my Friday night group. You ought to have a little better sense of this, and that should be kind of natural. But just to kind of know the tricks can't hurt. So we'll try to clarify them when we can. Anybody, anything on our conversation here? Diane's layout? Nobody confused or lost or what?
Well, Sensei, this is Lauren, and it's not something that I personally experienced, but my wife experienced it. She's not here right now to tell her story, but I'd like to share it.
Paraphrase, okay.
Her father passed away in his mid-80s, and 2.5 years later, his wife of almost 60 years, Trisha's mother, passed away in her late 80s. And especially on the death of her mom, Trish was, really felt alone. And one night in a dream, her character in a dream, she was in her own dream, and she got a phone call in the dream, and she picked up the phone, and it was her mom. And she said, "Mom, where are you?" I said, "Oh, I don't know. Let me ask your dad." And she can hear her mom ask her dad, "Joe, where are we?" And she doesn't hear the location, but her mom comes back on and is like, "Oh, I don't know. Joe doesn't know exactly, but we're in a nice place. Oh, gotta go. Bye. Have a good time. Bye, Trish." And Trisha woke from that feeling so overjoyed and relieved of her grief, the sense that her mom and dad were okay. And it spoke to both of us that they had passed on, but they were not gone.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Let's go over the dream part, because some people don't know what you think about dreams, but there's a level of dreams. What do they call it in present day psychology? Conscious mind, subconscious. Huh?
Vivid dreaming. It's
well, okay, but you're in the realm of subconscious. Is that what they say?
Oh, maybe what I'm saying is that the dream felt so real.
Yeah.
That it was as if manifest.
Tactile. The word.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Okay. So that, anyway, the people watching understand there are levels of dreaming where they're a very fine dimension and can be tactile or very clear and distinct and all of that. Okay. So I'm not sure your ideas about dreams being some kind of mental bullshit or whatever, but there's a certain level of dreams which are very acceptable. Okay. Then brings us to our next person, again from Florida. Amy, are you on?
And you're muted, Amy. Please unmute, Amy. Your microphone is muted on your side.
That's the Amy I know. Her lips move, but
Got it. Okay, I'm here. I've had a number of experiences. So The first one I want to share is regarding my dad when my dad was dying. My father and I were very close. He was not a spiritual man or a religious man. But as he was dying, I said to him, Dad, if it's possible, could you come back and let me know what it's like on the other side? You know? And he said, yes. And I had the first dream, I had a series of dreams. The first dream is he comes in a rowboat and he can't come up on the land that I'm on. So I get into the rowboat and we get into this middle place and we're walking around and I said, Dad, what's it like to be dead? And what he shows me with his whole presence and the message he gives me is there's no fear.
Yeah.
That's the first, that was the first dream I had. Then I have a,
By the way, that'll crop up in his book. That phrase, no fear. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. Then I had a series of dreams. I had it 2 or 3 times where I see my father, like he looks like he's in his 30s, like he's walking around in the cabana sets that they used to have and sandals, and he's down in LA. And I run over to him. I said, Dad, I'm so happy to see you, you know, and I hug him. And then I get really mad. I said, I thought you were dead. Mom and I were so upset. We thought you were dead. And he doesn't say anything to me. I had that dream 2 or 3 times until I really got that the message was, well, there's life after death. So then the next dream I had of him was he comes to me and he's with this woman. And, you know, I'm kind of like, what's he doing with this woman? You know? And he says to me, I have to go away for a while, but if you need me, you can call me, you know? And I call him, not immediately, but after a while I call him. And in my dream, he comes swimming towards me and he's exhausted. And I realized, no, don't call him. You know, he's somewhere else. And I realized that the woman he's with was kind of his guide, you know, helping him. So those were the dreams around my dad that were very.
Okay, can you hold it there a minute? Let me jump in. So in the 2 dreams, the one with the rowboat and the difficulty in coming to the heavy shore that she was standing on. Okay, something there. Now, here she catches that, how to say it? To ask him to come here into the heavy is a little bit hard. But for you as a heavy to easy. And you can move to closer, or after a while, we'll practice to their actual location. That's also here available. So, okay, yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Then I had dreams about my mother, and my mom. My mother had dementia the last few years of her life, and she became this woman that was just filled with goodness, you know, and love. And she would have a dream where when she'd wake up, she'd say to me, Amy, would you go upstairs and get me the white coat? I said, Mom, we have no upstairs. She says, oh, yes, your father built it for me. It's all white and it's beautiful. And she had that dream a number of times. When she passed, I couldn't grieve for her. I was so close to her, but I couldn't grieve with her. Instead, I just felt this state of love that I have never felt in my whole life. And it was with me for months. And then finally, it began to like dissipate. And then I was able to grieve. The other piece that I had, I've had a couple, but one of the other ones that I had was that I'm in a rowboat. We're in this cave, and I'm with a few other people. And you know, we're going around in this boat and nothing seems to be happening. And all of a sudden this portal opens up and we're in this place that is the most beautiful colors I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like this, you know, this level of beauty. And the message I got was, this is what your mother saw when she left.
Yeah. By the way, people, I like the word portal. We sometimes call that doorway. Portal's a nice word. I like the word portal also.
Yeah. And interestingly for me was, since I had that experience, I've been, the quality of beauty is beginning to come through me, where that was never one of those that I majored in, you know, so that was kind of interesting. And the last dream that I'll share is, I dreamt that I died, that I got shot and I died. And I was Zoom. I wasn't in an astral body anymore. All of a sudden, all I was consciousness. I had no body, I was just consciousness, and I was just there in this huge space. And I got scared, you know, and I didn't know, how do you move in this? What do you do? And the message that I got was just put out your intent. And as I put out my intent, I was able to move.
Yeah.
So those were the ones I wanted to share.
Intent is an interesting word. We should file that away. It may come back one day with more advanced work. Let's see. Another thing we could say about the the consciousness that didn't know it could move or something. So some type of, for lack of words, activation there. A simple one would be, I'm aware, then the beginning of experience of you aware experiencing, and that should start to activate it, where it gets better, catches better how things work. So that feeling of, what Amy, however you said it, just hanging there aware. Could you word that?
It was a huge empty space.
Yeah. But there you are, consciousness, and
I'm scared. I feel terror.
Yeah. Something about moving, not being able to move. What? No.
I felt stuck there, like I couldn't move.
Okay, that part right there. I felt stuck there. Aware. Experiencing, I am aware. That'll start things going, where that level of self will just move along better, know what it's involved with better. So to get things moving, we can't hardly be aware, experiencing, I'm aware. That should start it going. Or any kind of 2-beat thing should get it going. Okay. Susan and I are dealing with selves in her healing format thing. And sometimes we ask them to be a little more alive, present with their person, to get some healing stuff going on here. And so we've been playing with them and having them activate. Okay, Susan, would you remind me what form we're using to get them to activate? I sort of went blank there for a moment. Susan, you on? Or is she behind a mountain?
He's here soon, so just a moment.
Sensei?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the pattern we've been using to get the selves present to come more alive? I know we use a 2-beat, but I'm sort of blank for some reason at the moment. You follow me?
Because most often just a 2-beat. Yeah, just most often a 2-beat. Up, down, or in, out, 2-beat.
Just get a 2-beat going, yeah. So basic, simple 2-beat. Yeah. And that starts to activate that. the self in that case. Yeah. Simple trick. Yeah. So whether two beating or aware, experiencing aware, and then it starts to get things going. Okay. So far, anybody, anything else of what's been thrown out? Anybody getting too confused, too lost, something similar you want to throw out?
Hi, Sensei, it's Justin again. I was with my father when he was passing away, and he, like many people, didn't have a lot of religious or spiritual understandings or meditative practices, etc. But there was a sense of being ill and really uncomfortable, and how he was looking forward to being free of all of that heavy discomfort sensation outside.
So he had a
the
sense.
body. So
You had a sense.
yeah. He's how did I get into this predicament? And yet on the other side of this, there's just comfort.
Yeah.
And he was really looking forward to that.
It's I think I maybe mentioned through the years, dead people like to visit, pass through. So it's anyway, it's not unusual for me to have that happen. But many times I've heard them say, God, it's so nice on this side. I don't hurt anymore. Yeah, Justin, yeah. So nice on this side. I don't hurt anymore. I've heard that more than once. So if you're going out hurting, hang in there. Hang in there. It'll be gone soon, you know. Okay, let's see. Tija had some time in a medical career. You want to go over?
Sure.
At the bedside of dying people or whatever, wherever you were at there.
In my earlier life, I was a pulmonary technician. So I found myself in emergency rooms and ICUs and CCUs. And I have to say, had the privilege of being with people as they act in the moment of their death. It's really quite a unique experience, and I guess it's a natural thing. So I had many experiences being at the bedside at the moment of transition.
What was your sense?
Yeah. So
you're always quite sensitive. What was your sense right there? What was your sense?
My perception of that in a very deep and empathetic way was there was a release that was I could see. You can see the moment of release, and you can definitely feel it. I certainly felt it for everyone that I had the opportunity to be with at that moment. And there was the sense was and unusually was very peaceful, almost without exception, except in extreme trauma conditions.
Yeah.
And extreme trauma conditions, people were likely already out of body. So I'll talk about that in just a moment. But in the cases of individuals being at that moment where that exhale, breath is always connected with spirit, and you can feel that essence. I won't say I was seeing something in the auric way that maybe some kinds of psychics can see, but there is a feeling, there is a sense of release, and as Justin was talking about, and Amy too, Diana, those moments of release are for one thing, it's very natural. It seems like a very natural event to have that release, and then to see the body. I'm used to, doing vitals and really connecting with people and making sure, they're pumping and they're breathing and they're, and all of that. But the moment after that release, it's almost as if you could feel that generally out of the heart, feeling out of the chest, that last breath releases, and the consciousness leaves the form. And you can definitely feel, touching a body that has just died, just exhaled the last breath, the fact that they're not there anymore. and the body is a shell.
Yeah. Let me jump in a second.
Please.
A line here in the book that precedes the Underworld chapter. His son has come to visit him at the hospital. My physical body was there in front of him, but the dad he knew was gone. Mm-hmm. Now he has this, or perhaps a better word to use is elsewhere.
Yeah, elsewhere indeed.
I thought that was cute. Anyway.
So one other thing in relationship to this transition is that many of us have had what we know as outer body experiences. And sometimes that can happen with an accident. Sometimes it can happen with good drugs or bad drugs, or it can happen any of a number of ways. I know, Sensei, you've had it out in meditative practices, and people can have that kind of outer body experience. We've also talked a bit about dreams, and sometimes there'll be a lucid dreaming, or what was referred to earlier, I think by Lauren, as vivid dreaming. There is consciousness is awake, but you can actually kind of look down and see your physical form and realize that who you are is consciousness, and it has a certain kind of container, but it's not just the physical body. So these important experiences that we have can lead to a greater ease around that time of transition. And even if people are unsure, as people have talked about, not being spiritual. Well, I always think of Teilhard de Chardin in this wonderful saying, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience.
Human experience, yeah. Yeah.
So I've appreciated that, and that kind of gives some way to understanding the nature of who we are as a being. Yes, it's all connected with this stuff, but it's more than, and it goes on afterwards.
Yeah. By the way, that comment by Desjardins is very profound, because one of the purposes of an original self is to experience the creation, to know better who he is.
Yeah.
So he's totally there, starts this creation. Now we screwed up because we spun it a little too tight, but that's another story. But anyway, to experience, so that Bobby experiences something, Robert experiences, or another life experiences, to experience, yeah. But like he said it, the other way around.
Yeah, the other way around.
Self here.
Yeah, that's right.
And this one is experiencing this life, and the next life, that one is experiencing the life from that it exists in, whatever. Anyway, nice comment by him.
Yeah, for sure. I'll offer one last point, because those are, both the moment of death, outer body experiences that we all, or most of us, have had in one form or another. But it's also been referenced as there is kind of this energetic, telepathic lattice work of communication. I think Amy spoke very beautifully of that, and as did Diana. And Lauren's wife also referenced that sense of where is this communication coming from, and how am I having this? The fact that we're connected through an energetic kind of network.
Many levels.
Yeah, many levels.
Yeah.
The lattice, I often refer to it as the energetic lattice work, like the Matrix, but better.
I couldn't keep up with the Matrix. Come on. Anyway,
yeah, thank you.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, so Tisha reminded me, one of my early experiences sitting meditating, what would you call it? This hovering over, what do we call that again? I'm dumb tonight.
Outer body experience.
Okay, so I'm hovering over my physical body that's sitting there. Oh, wow, because I'm aware that as this hover, I'm aware of myself as this hoverer. But my body is there, below me, so to speak. Yeah, below me. I was hovering over it. I said, oh, and I'm not the body. I still exist. I'm still me, or conscious of myself. So that was one of my early ones. That's cute. Yeah. Brad has one, a recent one,
Sure. So, sorry, out of camera. So you, yeah, sure.
Okay.
So recently, a very close friend of mine died under really tragic circumstances, you know, I'm curious on two senses. One, from a human perspective, very close. So why did this happen? The normal reaction, because it was very tragic. And then, you know, I'm trying to research from just a big universal, bigger sense. So that's the context. And so, so I sat the day after the event occurred. You know, I just felt a really strong presence. You know, again, I'm trying to dialogue, I'm trying to feel, sense his self. You know, the first thing that happened was, I mean, the sense was it was, he wasn't with me physically, but it's kind of that vibration that it's like if I would have saw him in any other normal situation, oh, that's my friend. There it is. It's just
He
kind of,
recognized him.
Yes, thank you. So that was the experience, and again, it happened pretty quickly the day after, and so that presence was very strong. So yeah, I'm going to keep working, settling, opening, just trying to set more of a dialogue and see what
Communicate better.
Yeah, just communicate. I mean, it's, you know, and maybe that was trying to make sense of the tragedy. So yeah, I mean, this isn't, I'm kind of getting to the age now where these things are starting to happen more frequently. And so, yeah, I mean, again, I've lost.
Where do you get older?
Exactly.
You're still so young, Brett.
I know. Not so much anymore, but yeah. So.
Thank you, Brett.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never felt any problem in recognizing somebody passing through, wanting to check in or say hi or whatever. You instantly kind of recognize them. It's not like a person is standing there in front of you, although some people I've seen, you know, image, but mine is more of an inner seeing, but there's no questioning who they are. You can feel who they are. In fact, you kind of know who they are before you really go, oh, and then really acknowledge them. You can feel them, their presence, however to say that well. So another level of communicating, I think. What was that movie? The Seven, Samurai 7?
Seven Samurai.
Seven Samurai. Remember the scene behind the door where they're testing the guys, see who they're going to hire?
Right.
And some of the guys would go, I'm not going to enter that building. What are you up to? Okay. But if it were somebody pleasant or a beautiful girl, I'm sure they tromp through that door, no worries. But that sense of sensing, again, to depict that in a movie shows, oh yeah, people can sense if they're trained a little bit. If you train yourself, easy, settle, sense. Let me think about that. No, not there. Settle, easy, open, sense. Okay. Now this first guy doesn't know what that means yet. I don't need to train him. I just got to get him to shut up, to settle and move into a different zone. We laid that out on one of the paper maps. I forgot how, but we did a thinking brain,
A thinking brain, a feeling brain, a sensing brain.
Finer and a finer feeling brain, and then a sensing level.
Yes.
A sensing level. Someplace there we have to let go of the word brains, because that'll interfere with the continuing development. Which is where this book, by the way, does very well, because his whole life was brain. He thought everything was off of that. Suddenly, when he passes over temporarily, 7 days he's over, but he had a brain disease. His whole brain had shut down. There was nothing. So in retrospect, he said, whoa, I had all these experiences, but it couldn't have been to do with my brain, because my brain was totally shut down, medically, scientifically. But he was still having experiences. So anyway, blah, blah. Okay. Did we lose anybody along the way?
Sensei, I have a question.
Yeah.
It's Diana.
Diane?
Yeah. So it seems I've done it in a number of passes, and I seem to have an ability to communicate with people on the other side at times. But it seems that in this crossing over, that one's expectations, if there's not a guide, it seems one's expectations seem to influence where they end up. Because when my other grandmother passed, I kind of tuned in and was sort of almost expecting something to happen. I don't know exactly what, but I couldn't pick them up at her or my grandfather, who also had passed earlier, until after a long time I realized that they were both asleep. They were literally, just felt like they were asleep.
Yes.
And decades later, in my time frame, I have been able to make contact with that grandmother as well. But for decades, in our time frame, it was just like they were totally asleep.
Yeah. Well, don't we yell at folks? Come on, wake up here. Duh, what are you talking about, Sensei? Duh. Jesus, stop being so thick, settle, open. Come on, play the game. Let's go. So yeah, asleep, thick. Yeah, unfortunately. Back to Brad for a moment, that he was picking up his buddy the next day. Let's sort of note that, because there's probably a time variation. Maybe some people will go through their process, their crossing over process, and they won't come visit you until they finish that process, and then they may come visit. So I'm not sure the different timing capabilities, the different timing, that I don't exactly know. Not that it matters. If they visit, they visit. Hey, how you doing? I didn't say that well, did I? Usually, for me, if somebody says, oh God, I shouldn't say this because you'll call me and ask you to check in with your dying relative. Don't do that. I'm busy. But anyway, and if I found out they just died, I may not bother checking on them because I think in many cases they're still traumatized, isn't it? They're still hanging on to their even though they're dead, they're still hanging on to that life a little too heavily. Takes them a while to disengage, and then they can start to really go through a process if they're capable of moving along. If they're not asleep, is what I'm trying to say. If they're not asleep, not too dense. Okay. And again, I'm not, did I say that sort of okay? Doesn't matter. I'm not sure how strong beliefs can be held. So for example, I would, I'll mention it now, this idea of a dark tunnel and then light and you're there, okay? Now, is it possible that some people are well versed in that sense of things? They've heard about it before. A lot of people say, no, a dark tunnel and then light and you're there. That they might be too fast to go for that, where I would suggest easy in the darkness. Be present, accept the dark that's there, descend nicely, fully. You'll eventually get to a light, but the better you do this downtime dark, the better level you'll get to. You'll get to a better dimension, the better you downtime, you'll get to a better dimension. So again, back to Diana's story, where grandmother was ready to stop and somebody said, no, come on. She moved on. She said, oh, this is even better. I'd like to stop here. We could surmise. Somebody said, no, you can do better than that. Come along with me. That to me is a dimensional thing. So when you cross over and you run into dark, don't panic. If you're not too, that's another story. Don't panic. Boom. Susan and I were checking on somebody for some reason. A guy she really liked, she wanted to check him out. So I traveled with her to check him out. And he hit the dark and he just accepted it real fast. And the whole flavor, it was like he was in a parachute in the dark, just that feeling, and he did quite well with the fullness of dark. Got to a very nice level. Okay. So it's a bigger example of the light at the end of the tunnel. There's a little bit of dark, now there's light, but really, really fuller of dark, fuller of downtime, fuller. Okay. My second camera's out, so it's not comfortable to stand and show anything, but I was going to remind you by doing a simple 3x3, and then in the 3x3, because the center circle and the mix, you're a 3x3 character. You're you at that level. Then you trade it in or downtime. Easy with the down. Quiet, seeming nothing. Downtime, dark time, easy. Then, after a little bit, you begin to sense something is activating and you open to it and you're in a, what I say, you're in a 4x4. Boom. So that pattern, we only do it for a few minutes, but that pattern is an ongoing pattern. So if you want to prepare to cross over, I would suggest you hang out with just the sense of dark, longer, deeper, fuller. Just get used to it and know how nice it is. Finer dimensions of dark, finer. So you're going into the subsoil nutrient factor there. If you're too thick, it could look heavy and you're bumping into worms and rocks and shit. But easy, it's dimensional. As you settle, easy open. You start to pick up its truer flavor. Okay, so it's maybe a fast way of saying that is there seems to be a down dark shade from a light world, a down dark shade, certain amount of downtime, dark time. And then that shade opens at another level of light. And then you enjoy that level of light for whatever. And then that one will downtime, close the shade, brings you to a finer level. Is the process that I, in many different ways, try to lay out. Is that sort of okay? Almost clear? Don't be afraid of downtime. Don't be afraid of downtime. Don't be afraid of dark. Easy, easy, easy. Okay. The better you're easy with it, like her grandmother, the better dimension you can move to. Okay. I was tracking one guy, and he didn't take advantage. I didn't catch the early part, but he didn't take advantage. So he did what we call going back to the line at the airport to stand in line to come back again as soon as possible. He didn't take advantage of that passing over time and the finer dimension, you call them astral planes, the finer levels you can get into to continue your development. So eventually, if you want to come back, you're more developed. So you come back at a better level. You line up better. You're carrying more of the self a little closer here, whatever. You come back as a improved person. You come back as a little more advanced person, let's say. The potential is there. So you don't want to short circuit or race through the crossover time. It's I hope he says it well. I haven't read except for that chapter or so. I haven't gone into the book yet. But I'm hoping he lays out these moves. We'll see his languaging of them. Did you follow any of that? I got lost.
Yeah, Sensei, we had a conversation a couple of months ago about this topic in brief, and you said at that moment you're going, if you go easier, take your time with this process, you can position yourself better when coming back. You can sort of line up the situations of your rebirth so they're more advantageous to you. For example, if you have an aptitude for music, you might take a new form in the family of the director of Juilliard and not be born on a farm somewhere. And, you can sort of position yourself better.
That's what you can do in the astral planes. You continue learning, you continue practicing, continue developing. And you can stay at the astral plane for ages if you want. Okay, I got one guy I check in with. I don't know how long he's been in an astral plane. I think since Atlantis or something. He's been there a long time. I don't know what his aversion is to becoming a person, but that's his call. Whatever. So where am I going with that? But if you do well in the astral planes, the finer dimensions, then you potentially come back finer. I mentioned to you, I tracked Nicky because he was a friend of mine, and he loved acting, but didn't get to be the big name this time. But I was happy to see him in, quote, the astral planes, developing and then moving along, developing and moving along, developing. So he wasn't one of those bing, bang guys. He took time and he was working on something. You could see him working on something, developing, because he wants to be big time actor. So anyway, I thought his prep there was very good. I was impressed. So anyway. I don't know, say something. We got a few minutes, I think. Say something. questions, insights, problems, stories of yours?
Sensei,
Yeah.
this is Linda Morris.
Linda?
Yes.
Yes.
I haven't had a lot of experience being at the side of people who have passed, but I was with my mother. She was 87. She was preparing to die for several weeks. And then when she passed, I just want to say a couple of things that are things that you've touched on. The ease, the easing, I could see that. I could just see that. And her exhale was a surrender. She surrendered that breath. And when she passed, all of the stress of her earthly existence left her face, and she was glowingly beautiful. I just wanted to add those little bits to what has already been said.
Thank you. Yeah. And something like that, some people are going to be faster at that, They take their last breath, and within a moment, they're looking beautiful. They're dead, but they're looking beautiful. Something is radiating there. That wouldn't be a common occurrence. A heavy wouldn't have that happen. A heavy guy would die, and he'd probably still be hanging on to his heaviness kind of thing. He might not look handsome. So, yeah. It was fun when I was doing the estate business. That was a fun business for me. I enjoyed that. Anyway, but walking into a decedent, somebody who's died, a decedent's apartment or house, and some of the cases, it felt like a vacuum. So you knew the person went someplace else really fast because it was like a vacuum. You could feel it. Okay. Others, you touch their stuff and they'd suddenly be there and wonder, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? And stuff like that. So it doesn't mean they were less developed. It's just they were hovering in closer for whatever reason. But some of them, my brother always wanted to go to heaven. He was a Catholic saint in the family. So when he passed on, he's not going to take time to say, hi, Bobby, I'm okay. Gone, man. He's gone to heaven. Whatever that means to him. Anyway, one hard job, one of my first jobs clearing an estate was this old man who had died as a bitchy old man and was hanging around heavy, bitching. He was kind of tiring to hang around. I could have done my fancy Nadeau magic, but after 4 hours or so, that was it. I'll come back the next day. But if like working there 6 hours or 8 hours, it was tiring to have this guy around. He was still bitching so heavy. It'll take him a while because he's so heavy, but eventually, we're going to say the forces of the universe of creation will touch him and he'll have to hopefully move along to a better level. Hopefully. Or he's so heavy, he might be one of those guys that is standing in line waiting to jump back in again. And he'll probably come back not much improved or whatever. Slowly improved, but not much. Anyway. Yeah, it was fun working a job. Katya was very good at this. She was a little bit better than me in picking up, so-and-so is here. We get to name them or knew their names. Oh, yeah. She could often pick them up before I did. She was kind of sensitive. And sometimes in the dialogue, I used a nickname for one lady who had passed over, and Katya said she doesn't like that nickname. So anyway, I guess if you're heavy, hard for somebody who's crossed over to kind of show themselves because you're kind of heavy as you settle and open and easy. And I think that was part of that used to happen to me quite naturally out of nowhere. I wasn't looking to talk to dead people or anything like that. It was begin to happen and it would happen again. I think as you settle and you're vibing at a better level, then that possibility is there. And if you want to communicate or spend some time with a friend of yours, settle and just find the frequency. Settle, and there should be a frequency. I don't know better words than that. A sense that you're in the communication lines with them. Must be a better way of saying this. Diane, you sort of mentioned you had an experience there. Would you, if you wanted to check in with somebody, you'd settle, you'd open, finer sense. And just this sense of when you know you're at the right level or in the right frequency, that you begin to expect them to clearly be there, showing or communicating with you.
Yeah, I haven't been doing it as much recently, but yeah, it's just a sense of, I don't know, knowing, sensing, experiencing, shifting.
Okay. Anyway.
Allowing. Probably intention has a lot to do with it too, right there, right?
Not if you're, what depends, you've got to be careful. I have an intention, I want to talk to Joe. It's so heavy, your intentions for shit. Okay. Yeah, an intention, yes. I'd like to talk to my beloved cousin Charlie, who I cared for so much. Charlie, are you around? Easy, settle, finer, finer, going out. So yes, there's an intention, but I don't know how people use certain words. You see, so I have to be careful on certain words. I intend to get him. I'm going to get him. Scrunch in like that with the word intention. So anyway, people will figure it out. If you're interested, you'll sit, you'll figure it out. I think, I think I might have mentioned once, I used to play this game for a while. It was kind of fun for me. I don't know why it came up. Anyway, I would sit on my couch and I would mentally cut my wrist, bleed to death, and practice dying. Okay. So I say, oh, what about the laundry? I say, no, there's no laundry for you anymore. You're dying. You're going to be dead soon. Forget about the laundry. Okay. And once I got rid of all these Bobby thoughts, Robert thoughts, whatever, and I would just practice bleeding to death and dying and see if I could experience anything that way. And I don't remember what I got out of it, but I did enjoy doing it for a bit. It was kind of fun. So if you want to practice what it's going to be like, you can practice. And by the way, you can do a faster form. I used to do a slow form just to go through each stage, you know. But you can do things faster. But fully, when I say fast, I don't mean fast idea. Faster, easy, faster, easy, faster. It's a dimensional speed, okay? Not an idea, speed. You lose the other aspects that are so important here, the actual experience, Blah, blah, blah. I'm finishing up here.
Thank you so much, Sensei.
Thank you. Again, next week, I'll try to go through this book this week and see if he follows a good pattern that we can go over, because he had a great experience on the other side. So for those of you who have read the book umpteen years ago, skim it again. Those of you, I got this from Amazon and only took a day. It's a secondhand copy, so not too expensive. Only took a day and came on my front porch. So if you're interested, it might be a good book. So far, I'm very interested in finishing it. Catch his experiences. I think he did a good job.
Thank you, Sensei, and everyone. It's available as a Kindle and an Audible as well. Thank you, Sensei.
Audible.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I like to soak with the words myself.
Okay.
But whatever.
Thank you so much, Sensei.
Thank
Good
you,
night, everyone.
everybody.
That's a
Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you, everyone. Good night. Good night.
Good night, all.